I'm Dick Lindstrom from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I've been given the great honor of actually giving to our this year's honorees the most prestigious honor of the Ophthalmology Innovation Summit, the Innovator Award. And this year our awardees are Dr. Vince Anito and Dr. Casey Kopczynski from ARI. And so we're going to start out by seeing a video, and then I'm going to bring them up and grant them their awards, take a couple photos, and then have a little informal discussion with them about their experiences in bringing new technologies to market. So let's go ahead and run the video.
David Epstein always had a dream of identifying a treatment for glaucoma directed at where the pathology was. Most of the treatments of glaucoma were directed at lowering pressure, but not directed at the site of the problem, which is the trabecular meshwork, and the cause of the elevated pressure was due to a problem in outflow. So David's dream, for as long as I knew him, was to find a drug that was targeted at the outflow system. He'd gone through a series of other drugs, other medications, and all ran into roadblocks. In the relationship with Casey, at the time David was chairman at Duke University and Casey Kopczynski was based in Raleigh-Durham, they developed a relationship and started working together and came up with the first series of ROCK inhibitor compounds.
The ROCK inhibitor that was developed by ARI was the culmination of a lot of work. My understanding is that ARI looked into 1,500 different ROCK inhibitor molecules before settling on investigating further their new product, notarsadil.
So the goal at ARI from the beginning was to find a drug, a class of compounds that specifically ameliorated, reversed, or reduced the damage to the trabecular meshwork, which is totally novel compared to any of the other agents we have for treating glaucoma. None of the other agents available when this research was ongoing acted primarily at the trabecular meshwork. And as we know, ARI was successful. Their products, notarsadil and the fixed-dose combination notarsadil-latanoprost, do effectively lower IOP by acting at the trabecular outflow pathway.
ARI has a great approach to innovation. They actually are looking at some of the root causes of diseases and trying to address them.
I think ARI's mission statement basically is to try to go to different diseases that are not well treated at this time, finding areas where they can use their expertise to try to be an adjunct or a standalone treatment for certain eye diseases that we don't have excellent treatments for.
So ARI has brought to us, to physicians who treat glaucoma, to patients with glaucoma, two new wonderful medical management options for controlling the disease.
But I think ARI has met this mark of inventiveness with the introduction of Ropressa, a new product for the treatment of glaucoma.
We have not had a new glaucoma topical medication for 20 years. And having access to this new class of medicine, notarsadil, the new ROCK inhibitor, has really revolutionized our approach to treating glaucoma medically, and it's really gratifying that we have something new to offer our patients.
I've used notarsadil in many patients. I've used it as a first-line agent for patients who do not tolerate or do not want the side effects of prostaglandins or beta blockers. I've used it as an add-on drug in patients who are taking one or more medications. I've used it pre-surgically, hopefully to delay or avoid surgery, and I've used it after surgery in patients to achieve a target pressure. So it really fits the whole realm of the glaucoma patients that we are treating.
I was originally approached to explore whether the Rho kinase pathway was applicable to the retina, and would it enhance or be a new mode of action that might be beneficial to patients. And once learning what had been done previously, I was very excited and felt there was a place for the Rho kinase, protein kinase C inhibitors in this space, and felt that this was a very viable treatment modality that may add to what we already have and help fight blindness.
It's difficult to maintain the momentum of product development. However, ARI has already moved 2 unique new product candidates into clinical development in the retinal area. And they're conducting additional evaluations to initiate development on a product for presbyopia as well as another for dry eye.
So having the previous experience with their glaucoma drop made it very easy for them to make a transition into the retina. And yet they were not satisfied. They realized that doing monthly injections is not going to be the way that we're able to maintain and help our patients.
I joined ARI because of my admiration for the technology that the company has, as well as the people that make up the company.
And I think that the leadership team at ARI has this very open mind. They're not restricted in any way to a specific disease. Their willingness to take gambles, to take chances, use these compounds in unique ways is fun to watch. And I think, again, our patients and the doctors who treat these patients will benefit from it.
I think ARI doesn't want to be a me too. They want to be leaders in the field. They want to have the best products available. They're willing to take chances and go after modes of action that have not previously been tried. They're not trying to do a biosimilar. They're not trying to do another anti-VEGF. They're not trying to do something that has already been done. They want to be leaders in the field.
So congratulations to ARI on the 2019 Ophthalmology Innovators Award.
I want to congratulate ARI on the 2019 Ophthalmology Innovator Award, a well-deserved honor for them.
So I would like to congratulate the people at ARI, the people who make up the team, for the collaborative, supportive, positive work environment they've created, which has led to these wonderful medications for our patients. I think David Epstein, the co-founder, would be so proud of these accomplishments, as well as the awarding of this very prestigious Ophthalmic Innovator Award.
So let's welcome up Dr. Vincenito and Dr. Casey Kopczynski, this year's awardees. Why don't you come right over here? We'll get a picture. So congratulations. I've
Thank you.
gone back all the way to Dave Epstein, so I know the company well, and amazing, 2 FDA-approved drugs, certainly a great outcome. So from each of you, tell us a little bit about your story before ARI, what brought you to ARI, and your roles at ARI.
Sure. So I've spent my career in biotech, really small startup biotech companies primarily. My background is I have a PhD in molecular cell biology. I was doing my postdoc at UC Berkeley when the head of the laboratory started a company called Exelixis back in the 1990s. And I decided that it sounded like something very interesting to join. And I spent about 6 years there and went from a company of 10 to a company of 300 in about 4 years. And I was hooked on the early startup phase, and really enjoyed, I found, being involved in that building process. So after I left Exelixis, I moved to the Raleigh-Durham area in North Carolina, and was there explicitly to help companies spin out of those two universities. That's when I was first introduced to David Epstein, and he expressed his interest in starting a company which we ultimately named ARI.
Yeah, on my side, I started in the pharmaceutical industry back in the mid-'70s, working at a company called Marion Laboratories. Was there for a number of years. And the company was about 100 million in revenues when I joined. It was cardiology, gastroenterology, and et cetera. And then moved when it was about 4 billion after about 14 or 15 years. I was fortunate enough to meet a gentleman by the name of Gavin Herbert, who a lot of us owe our careers to, and he convinced me to move to Allergan and as president of the Americas. So that's where I got the love and the passion for ophthalmology. Then after a number of years there, I went off, and this ARI became my third startup. I was dragged out of retirement. I was very, very happy. My golf game was going great. And then I was asked to join the company when it was still private as executive chairman, and got to meet Casey, got to meet the folks there and the investors, and thought we can turn it into something special. And so that was in about 2013.
So you mentioned this, but you partnered here with an academic medical center. And not only that, with the chairman of the department of an academic medical center. So was that smooth or rough, or how did that go?
I mean, it was great, obviously, to have David Epstein as a mentor. I actually came from a background in oncology rather than ophthalmology, so I was given a crash course through my interactions with David, and of course having access to the excellent faculty that he had brought into Duke, was a huge help early on in the company. There's always some challenges, and when you're first starting out a company, obviously there's licensing that has to be negotiated. That all went very smoothly with Duke. It always takes longer than you want, but as an organization, it worked very well.
Yeah, when I joined the company, we had progressed pretty far relative to what Casey had to live through in the early days. And so one of the things most people didn't realize about David was he was an entrepreneur. He actually would try to get his students to think about starting companies, and he would invite a number of us to go speak to the staff there and about what it was like building the company. And it was fascinating to have him as an advisor on the board, because he always liked to learn, and so he had never taken a company public before, and so for him it was a real level of understanding he didn't have, so he loved every step of the way. And the great news before he passed is that he actually got to see the product work in humans.
Wonderful. So to me, that's a very virtuous thing, actually, for the academic medical center to work together with the for-profit sector. So I'd like to see even more of that. So, toughest challenges, any near-death experiences, and what did you have to overcome as far as a few key issues?
Yeah, so there were definitely a few near-death experiences. I'll cover an earlier one. Vince may want to cover a later one, but certainly when we were still a small company in our Series B round of financing, I mean, we had put a lot of effort into getting our first product into the clinic, and unfortunately that failed. And we had, fortunately, we had good VC investors in the company that really understood there was still opportunity there beyond the first product that we brought in. The next product that we were working on was a Rho kinase inhibitor. The first one into the clinic actually was a variation on prostaglandins. So we were able to get past what could have been a time where the VC investors might have said, well, we took our swing and we missed, and we're going to go on. But they believed in the opportunity of Rho kinase. We were able to convince them that we had some ideas on how to improve upon what had already been done with Rho kinase inhibitors, and fortunately they continued to invest in the company.
Perseverance, huh?
Oh, it is. It's never a straight line building these tiny companies. You know, there's an awful lot of things that are going to go wrong, and you know, you just have to plan for that. And in our case, we try to hire folks who have actually been there before. We overhire for a company our size, and so we're able to get out of jams when we find ourselves. Some of them are self-inflicted, but at least we were able to get ourselves out of it. The second great experience we had that was almost certain death was one of the things we know about glaucoma medications is, and the way we study them is anything that's ever made it through phase 2 in glaucoma got approved. Everything. So all you had to do was make it through phase 2. So we did. And so off we went into the phase 3 trials. The first one, and they were called the Rocket series. The first one was Rocket 1. And it was a 90-day trial, no big deal. And so off we went, and we got the data back, and we have a process by which we do that. And the guys came in and said, we missed the primary endpoint. And for about 30 seconds, it was just shock. And then the good news is Casey and a couple of his guys had actually developed a tool that allows us to visualize the data pretty quickly. And we realized that while we missed the primary endpoint, which is below 27 millimeters of mercury, we hit below 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. So we quickly figured out that it was our fault, that we put a cap on the upper end of the IOPs. We shouldn't have, but we did, and that's why we missed, because it was just a lot of noise in that upper 1 millimeter. And so because we knew and had discussions with the FDA and Dr. Chambers in particular, we knew he didn't care what range we studied as long as the study was non-inferiority to timolol. And so we had a second trial because we did them in parallel because we wanted to take that risk to get the drugs on the market quickly. And so we took the risk and we called him up, and before we unveiled the data on the second trial, he had allowed us to change the range for the primary endpoint. So we were able to successfully hit that. We went off and did another study just to make sure we had a confirmatory study, but it could have gone really bad really fast, only about a year or two after going public.
So you had good help from the FDA, which I think we're all getting more every year. So a couple other quick questions. So it's not just glaucoma now. David Boyer was on the video. You're looking at the cornea. You're looking at, what, dry eye? What else are you looking at?
Well, so as Jerry explained, we're also looking at presbyopia. We think that there's an awful lot of folks out there, and certainly we see that in this room and saw it in the presentations all the way from this morning to today. From a business development point of view, it doesn't have to be our thing, right? So, we think we have the resources. Our CFO has done a great job raising money for us. We've raised $1 billion since the inception of the company. We have about $400 million in the bank. And so, we do want to bring in additional technologies. And so Casey's been instrumental, along with the team that we have back home, that, really spends an awful lot of time taking a look at that. So, we think that there's a great opportunity in ophthalmology, and we love meetings like this because it just reminds us how viable it is.
So we should think of you going forward as a ophthalmic pharmaceutical strategic? Are you global?
We are. We have operations now in Europe. We actually have a number of folks over there. We expect to get Repressa, or Rukinsa as we call it in Europe, approved before the end of this year, and then we'll file for Rocklatan immediately after that. We do have our own manufacturing facility that will go live, and that's in Ireland, and so that'll go live in about the middle of next year. And then before the end of this year, we'll unveil the phase 2 results of our Japanese trial, and so we're very excited about that as well.
Well, once again, congratulations on this great award, and thank you for all your contributions.